Hi everybody, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Durling and I thank you so much for tuning in for this episode. If you're here, chances are you're a Led Zeppelin fan. This is a Led Zeppelin episode and it is about my Led Zeppelin 8 tracks. And you know, Led Zeppelin are a band that were so big, it's not the hardest thing to put together a pretty good Led Zeppelin 8-track collection, but to get it complete, not so easy towards the end. Got some cool stuff to show you here. So we'll start off with the first Led Zeppelin album from 1969. This is, like a lot of the tapes you'll see on this episode, a Canadian version on Atlantic. It's not an original, definitely a reissue from sometime in the 70s. I've seen older copies than this. You know, the first Led Zeppelin album, there's, if you can find one where the, the logo and the record label is in purple, at least on vinyl it's worth a lot. I'm not really sure if there's the same thing with 8 tracks, but there's my copy of the first album. A lot of these actually look quite similar. Second, Led Zeppelin, also 1969. Looks like the same issue, the same time period this would have been issued in. And this actually doesn't have, unlike the first one, this actually doesn't have a year on it, which is kind of strange, but anyway. It's my copy of Led Zeppelin 2. Next up, 1970. Also no year on this one, Led Zeppelin 3. Now something that you lose, of course, when you don't have the vinyl is the cool die-cut cover, but here it is. I don't know, for some reason they have the title in quotations here. Not really sure why. The next one I'm going to show you I've had for a long, long time. It's one of the first 8 tracks I ever found. Probably found it around, well, I found it in 1992 at a trading post in Kirkland. I think my friend Chad was with me. And I was just getting into Led Zeppelin, so this was a cool thing to find when I did. Of course, it's the classic 4th Led Zeppelin album. I've always called it Led Zeppelin 4. Some people call it So-So because of the symbols. You know, how well you can see those on the side. But and this one, I think it says 1971 on it, but it's all faded out. Someone took some pen to this for some reason. Maybe a kid got at it, I'm not sure. This is the one you're going to see more often than any other Led Zeppelin. Next one's another rare example of me actually finding one out there. I found this at the Record Expo in 2018 in Moncton. It's Houses of the Holy. I've got a few that have this stripped down here like this, a few Warner Group ones. I'm not sure when this was. And like Led Zeppelin 3, this one has the title in quotations, and I'm not sure why. And then so it says 1973 down there and also here. Next up is the only one of the only American ones I have to show you, and it's a heavy tape, not just musically, but Physical Graffiti. It's a double album, so there's a lot more tape on this than normally. And this is the US version on Swan Song. This was the first Led Zeppelin album on Swan Song, 1975. And again, like the third album, you're losing the die-cut cover, but that's what the vinyl's for. Go dig the vinyl out. It's really, really cool. Next one's really cool. It's one of very few UK 8 tracks I have. It's also one of the very few where I have the slipcase. Slipcases tend to get thrown away. That's why occasionally you'll come across 8 tracks that have no artwork on them and you wonder, well, who would have bought that? It would have come with a slipcase with the artwork on it. Those tended to get thrown away. So this is a UK version of Presence on Swan Song. This is really cool. And here's the 8-track itself. Now someone put tape all over this so it's all yellowed, but that's all right. It's signs of wear and tear. At least there's no bubbling on it, I guess. Totally different looking than a US or Canadian 8-track. So yeah, I was really glad to find that copy. So now we're back into Canadian issues. Another one that's got a lot of tape in it, of course, is The Song Remains the Same. This is a Canadian version on Swan Song. And I want to point out the fact that Program 2 simply contains the second half of Dazed and Confused. They stretched these songs way, way out. I think the author, Martin Popoff, said they managed to stretch 9 songs over 4 sides and risk getting arrested for loitering in the process, which is pretty self-indulgent, but it's one of the things that made them cool. Now, another one that I found in the wild, another Canadian one, and my personal favorite Led Zeppelin album, In Through the Outdoor, I found this at Spin It. Was glad to do that. And instead of having the barroom scene, the cover they chose to use for this 8-track was just the paper bag that the original records came in. I love this album. And for most people, normally collecting Led Zeppelin, that's where their collection would end. And that is all that I know of the retail Led Zeppelin albums, because John Bonham died in 1980. There was no other studio Led Zeppelin album. There was no new album to come out. Of course, we know they owed the record company one more album, and it eventually came out in 1982. Very hard to find, and it is Coda. I was fortunate to find a U.S. Columbia House version. As far as I know, even though retail 8-tracks were still being made in 1982, I've never seen a retail version of Coda. I've only ever seen the Columbia House version like this, or an RCA Music Service version. So here is U.S. Columbia House version of Coda. This was exciting for me when I found this. And I don't know if there are 8 tracks that came in gray like the color did, but this one's yellow for some reason, but there you go. I got a couple bonus 8 tracks to show you too, which are pretty cool. 1982, so Coda was originally supposed to come out earlier than October of 1982, but they pushed the release date back because of this album. This is Robert Plant's debut solo album, Pictures at 11, also on Swan Song, at least this one was, and this is a retail card. This is a retail US 8-track of Pictures at 11. Very, very rare. There were so few 8-tracks being made for retail sale at this point. This is in pretty good shape. I'm missing the Principle of Moments, which I've seen Columbia House and RCA Music Service versions of, and I got one more thing to show you. From 1985, this is Robert Plant's Shaken and Stirred album, his 3rd solo album. This is an RCA Music Service version, and it is in excellent, excellent shape. Not a lot from 85. If you've seen my earlier episode on RCOs, you'll know that, but there you go. So there's my Led Zeppelin, plus a couple of Robert Plant solo albums. I'm curious out there if you've got any cool Led Zeppelin 8-tracks, or if you've got any other Led Zeppelin related albums in 8-track, would like to hear about them, like to see them. Thanks for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.